Yeah, you're welcome to Solarex Information Technology World. My name is Father Sola. I'm the computer engineering tutor that's going to be taking you for the next 2 weeks. I'm going to take it specifically on electronics, so I encourage the young folks to follow us on our social network, on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, so that you can have a tip of what electronic is. To my surprise, when most of you hear of electronics, they used to believe that it's their TV, their radio sets, their fridge, and the likes. But electronics is quite different from what we know, and it's very important to have a very good idea on what electronic is, because I've really made my research and I discovered that there's no electrical gadgets, no device that has been built by the technical know-how that electronics is not involved. Do you know that even the car we drive has electronics in it? The brain box of a car is made with an electronics. So I'm just trying to tell you the importance of having an idea of what electronic is. So let's go on board to see what we call electronics. At my table you can see a display of a multimeter. This is a digital multimeter. A digital multimeter to be precise, but you can decide to use any one you like. Either you use an analog or a digital multimeter. And moving to my left, you can see some electronics that is being displayed on the table. You can see a diode. This is a diode. The shaded part is the negative, and the other leg is the positive. You can also see a filter capacitor. This is a filter capacitor. As you can see that the cap is well knitted. By mere observing a capacitor that is well knitted like this, it gives you a clue that the capacitor is good compared to this other one, which is already bulged, swollen. So when you see a capacitor that the cap or the surface like this is swollen, is a sign that the capacitor is bad. You can see a transistor as well. This is an NPN transistor. As we continue, I'm going to explain better on capacitor, what it does and the likes. Then going to the board here, you can see a lot of arrays of electronics on it, which are arranged based on circuit diagram. And this to tell you that after this training, I can assure you that you can easily assemble something of this. So far, you can take your time to follow us on all social networks of Solarex, and at the same time on our website. To continue with, this is a transformer. This is a transformer for voltage conversion. Even though in board like this, it is the linear transformer that is very common to convert a high voltage of like 220 to 24 and thereabouts. Now, this is an inductor. This is an inductor that's at the side of the transformer. An inductor. This is another inductor. This is another inductor. So as we continue in this training, we would explain to you better what inductor is, what it does on the board, the principle with which it works. Now, this is another example of a capacitor, though we call this one germanium or silicon capacitor. It is a non-polar capacitor, like this one that is polar. Any capacitor of this type is a polar capacitor. That is, it has both negative and positive legs. So when you are dealing with electronics that are polar, you have to be very careful to identify the positive leg from the negative leg. But in this case, as I've earlier mentioned, it is a non-polar capacitor. That is, the two legs are the same. So then you can see a fuse. This is a fuse. This is a fuse. Fuse is used to protect other electronics in case of any sudden high currents. So it's also very important on the board. Coming here, you can see an IC. This is an IC. Like an IC, it has a lot of legs. Then this type of IC has 8 legs or leads. So, and it's very, very important on the board. I'm going to explain further on what that is. Then coming back here, you can see that as I've made mention earlier, that this is a what? That is a diode. There's another type of diode that I'm going to show you now on the board, which is a Zener diode. It is somehow colorful than the other one I showed you. A Zener diode. Can you see a Zener diode? This is another example of a Zener diode. It's very colorful. It's a Zener diode. We're going to explain better later. And you can see a lot of resistors with beautiful color bands. So I want to encourage youths, graduates, students to take their time to follow us for the next 2 weeks on our website and on all social network, because I want to believe that knowledge is power. And if you can take your time with practical illustration on how to test each of these electronics, I can assure you that you'll be able to fix bad electronics, bad electrical gadgets. Because when there's any sudden breakage in your electric gadget at home, is as a result of malfunction of any of these electronics. So I want to encourage you that you should build your passion and learn all this for the next 2 weeks. And I still remain my humble self, Father Busola. Happy listening.